All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to our first virtual author chat of 2021. I'm assuming that given the current situation, we will be having many more of these. So it's great that you could all join us. My name is Heather Ratz, and I'm the CEO of the Brighton Public Library. And our guest this evening is Laurie Ray Hill. And Laurie is the author of Paper Stones, which is published by Inanna Publications. And just before Laurie begins, I'm just going to go over a few housekeeping reminders. So everyone was muted upon entry. So I would ask everyone to please remain muted until the end. And at that point, we will have an interactive session where you can unmute yourself and ask questions. Please feel free to use the chat function at the bottom of your screen. You can put comments or questions there, and Greg and I will keep an eye on those. And hopefully we'll get all of the attendees' questions answered. And please remember that not everyone has read Paper Stones. So if you are asking a question or putting a comment, please don't add any spoiler material. We don't want to ruin any surprises for anybody. I'm going to be giving away one copy of Laurie's book. Here it is. I'll be doing that at the very end of the program. You do have to be in attendance to win. So if you choose to leave halfway through, I don't know why anyone would choose to do that, but if you do, you cannot win this great book. So in terms of what tonight is going to look like, Laurie is going to read from her book. And believe me, you want to hear Laurie reading some of these passages. I just find it amazing. It just brings the characters alive, at least it did for me. So I hope it does the same for you. And then I will conduct a bit of a short interview asking Laurie some questions. And then we will open it up to you, the viewers, and you will be able to ask questions. After that, we'll have a bit of a wrap up. We'll do the prize draw. And then everyone will be going out to purchase a copy, is what I'm assuming.
Well, you're great.
All right, so without further ado, make sure everyone is muted, and I will pass it over to you, Laurie.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Winter night, we're going to curl up with a book. How great is that? So yeah, I'm just going to jump in and read. And I'm just, I don't know how many have read this, but there's a group of women and they have met each other when they go to a therapy group. And the therapy group is for people that have trauma in their childhood. But here these women are reluctantly in this group. And it starts to be something really special for them. And Rose, who's speaking, talks, to me, it's the around here voice. It's the vernacular of rural Ontario, or a vernacular of rural Ontario. And for me, it's a voice of home, and it's so warm and fun that it gets you through some of the things that are hard, I think, about the topic of this book, all this trauma that they're trying to work through. But you get to do it with Rose, who is fun and warm. So here we go, reading from Paper Stones, quite near the beginning. It got so I looked forwards to group every week. Got to know them girls. We talk about things that we were gonna do someday. Josie got this idea that she never shut up about, said we were gonna have a hotel and serve dinner. And in the back, there was gonna be this room, the Lost Gold Room, she got calling it. I asked her how she came up with that. Josie wouldn't say. She didn't like to talk about her second sight. Back then, we all had our secrets. Josie said this room was going to be just for people like us. Marg says, well, how are we going to know who's like us? Marg's one of these people who's got to have every detail of everything planned out ahead. Sally used to tease her, told Marg she never done nothing on faith. Marg, I bet you wouldn't start out on a trip till every traffic light was already green. Tammy says, what would we do when men come into the hotel? Tammy, she spent her time worrying about all men except the one that she needed to worry about, which is the one that gave her that blood bruise on her neck. She was scared of the men that were going to come into our Daydream Hotel. Josie says they'll keep their hands to themselves in our hotel. Marg laughs. Marg laughs like a jug of milk getting shook. Kills me. Darlene rolls her eyes. She was the last one that got there that night. That's Darlene, always last, lagging behind, missing out. Somebody must have told Darlene when she was about 4 years old that was cute on her, rolling her eyes like that. Well, maybe it was 30 years ago. Anyway, one Tuesday, Josie come clunking up the stairs in her cast, and she digs this little picture out of her purse. Look at this. The picture is some little back north town. There's maybe a dozen frame houses, a few storefronts, gas station with the shell hanging crooked, old white church. But Josie's wound up. Look at the color of these stones. She points to the pinkish rocks in the picture and takes this sideways look at me. It's something you get used to with Josie, that cold little touch on your neck. She's showing me pink rocks like the stepping stones that I saw in that poster that got me all excited. And she's looking at me. She won't even pass the picture around. She's got to hold on to it while everybody takes a look. It's just some little town she cut out of a magazine, little picture of a town. Where is it? I says. Well, that took the wind out of her sail because she couldn't remember where she cut it out of. She went and cut off the name too and all the information. Sally says, it's nice, Josie. Looks like, look at that pretty little church. Sally believes in God. Josie, she loved that picture. She even dreamed about it. She was telling us the next Tuesday, said there was water behind that white church, deep, clear water. And it looked blue or silver or green, depending. I says, depending on what? Josie sucks you in, eh? You hear yourself asking a question on the stuff she's talking about as if you took it serious. So there's me asking her what the color of the water behind the church depends on. The water ain't even in the picture. She remembers she dreamed the water. It depends, she says with this look on her like she just seen a spaceship. And you gotta ask her, depends on what? She'll tell you too. And it got to be this funny thing. We'd sit there and talk about it every week when we were waiting. We started getting there early. We'd show up at 7 on the nose just to have time to talk. And we'd get excited and we'd talk about the hotel we were gonna build and the town, like a bunch of kids with a secret game. One night, Josie managed to haul ass upstairs even earlier than usual. Sally dragged a chair for her to put her bad foot up on. Sally's as sweet as she looks. Youngest one here, but she's everybody's little mother. Josie's all happy. She leans forward. I've been thinking. Josie never quits thinking. Then she'd lower her voice like this and lean in. And you knew you were going to hear something nuttier than peanut brittle and just as much of a treat. This woman will make pies for the dining room. She takes out that picture from her purse. Sally asks how we know there's a woman to make pies. Josie holds her little magazine clipping picture under the light. We're all crowded around looking, and you could just see where there's a sign on the fence in front of a faded yellow house. It's a teeny tiny sign, but she didn't dream it. What's it say? I need longer arms. Tammy, that's the one with the blood bruise on her neck who worries about all the men except the asshole who tried to strangle her. She reads it out. Homemade pies, fresh picked local berries. People are going to drive a long way for them pies, Josie says, and we'll get our eggs fresh off of these people here. The homemade pie will be just for people like us. If I squint at the picture, I can just make out a chicken scratching in the dirt outside the place next to the garage. Josie says that is what they call a free-range chicken, and we're going to charge extra for its eggs, except for people like us who are going to get them regular price. Sally says, we should make the dining room so it looks out over the lake. That's the water behind the church. It's a lake now. I can see it. People taking it easy, eating their high-priced eggs beside a shining lake. and us all in summer dresses with our hair done running the place. Wouldn't Sally be right in her glory looking after everybody? We'd put Marg at the front desk. No baloney from the public would phase on solid Marg. She'd be out there calm and steady, friendly look on her, setting everybody straight. Josie says she knows what type of furniture we're getting. She's got it figured out that the guy in the blue house made the 2-seater swing and the octagon picnic table in his yard. She likes his style, she says. It goes with our hotel, back north style, pine logs. I says, how can you see what style it is? She's got a magnifying glass. Takes it out of her purse. Marg's still laughing at that, glugging like a jug of 2%, when Meredith, the leader, prances in. We quit laughing, file in like good kids, sit where we always sit. Everybody takes a turn to talk about their week. Now, our week is generally crap when you come right down to it. We talk about our anxiety attacks. We tell how we binged on beer or double chocolate with sugar sprinkles, donuts or whatever on Monday night to feel better and felt like shit afterwards. We say things like that we let some jerk move in on Wednesday and he got drunk Friday and broke the handle off the stove. So now we're using the dog leash to get the oven door open. Somebody's normally lost whatever dumb job they were doing, can't get their welfare check for 3 weeks. Whoever's got a car, it's generally broke down. Their boyfriend's took off and won't fix it. Or he's got the car and he says it's his because he made the last 3 payments on it, only that's bull usually. The money he put in was supposed to be for the rent and he's eating off us too. The leader, Meredith, sits and plays with her diamond bracelet. She wants to know if we recognize any pattern in the way we keep letting different man move in and break something different or whatever else each stupid one of us just done for the 10th time. Pattern. That's a word that Meredith likes. She's trying to get us to see our pattern. We all got different problems, but if you stand back and look at what we keep doing, it is just as clear to see as snow, that's footprints in snow. We are going right around in circles. Yes, that's a pattern. Okay, how about we stop it there for a bit?
That was great, thank you. We had a comment from Jan. She really liked the saying about nuttier than peanut brittle, and I must agree on that. And I saw several people chuckle when you said glugging like a jug of 2%.
I was trying to imitate it. I couldn't do it very well, but I got a picture or sound in my head the way some people laugh.
And I liked the use of the term haul ass. Oh, so
there's nothing too fancy about Rose.
Oh, she's so lovable. So, so like for me, you reading it makes such an impact on me. It's much better than the voice in my head when I'm reading it. So can you talk to us about the way that the narrator talks?
Yeah, well, that's fun, isn't it? I hope people find it fun. I guess I already said it's a voice of home for me. It's a voice that I've loved hearing around here. I love it for a few reasons. I think it has a directness, an energy to it, and I think it's funny. So I love it, and it really helped me, and I hope it helps readers too to get through this material because it's so friendly and easy and warm. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Ed wants to know when you will be reading the next chapter.
Yeah, I really, really hope this gets to be an audiobook sometime. That's another project, but I'd love that.
That would be great. And Jan also commented that she really likes the image of the dog leash on the oven.
I knew somebody that did that.
Great. So in the book, there is a fortune teller. Can you tell us why you included that in the book?
Yeah, that's fun to talk about because That's a neat question. If I, I could tie this to the Brighton Public Library because I worked there once, and when I was working with you guys, I was a children's librarian, and I got to love folk tales, and I started to learn how to tell folk tales without a book, folk tales, fairy tales, children's stories. So if you're one of these people that likes to dig down in the secrets of a book, if you look in my book, in this one, in Paper Stones, you can find a whole bunch of folk tale stuff, fairy tales. You can see how many castles, how many times a castle is mentioned. This hotel gets, there's a princess there, and there's this wise woman, this fortune teller. It's somebody who sees the future, which is a folk tale element. It's something you find in fairy tales, a wise woman who can see what's going to happen. And I think this book is about children's trauma, and I think there's some good, the reasons of children's old stories are often about children in a dangerous world, right? The dark woods, or there's a witch, or there's somebody after in those old stories. And this book is about children confronting some very dark things. And I think this folk element that weaves through it has to do with that for me. Yeah. So
Thank you. So that sort of leads into my next question that, the book is about a dark and difficult topic, and it's about healing, but at the same time, it's been reviewed as riveting, charming, funny. So how can that be when the book is about the process of healing?
Yeah, well, I think this is all related, isn't it? Because the first thing you said, the voice, because Rose is so much fun, and she's funny, and she has all these great country sayings and everything, which I had a ball collecting, by the way. It was so much fun to write them down and collect all those funny sayings of Rose. So there's that makes, I think, some people find it, the humor comes forward. For some people, they think it's really funny. And now I forget what else you want to know. Why is it? Oh, how can it be charming and stuff with all that dark?
Yes.
Well, yeah, the people, the lovability, the humor, the folk and fantasy element too. I think that does lighten it up a lot. This daydream hotel that I was reading about, these girls with their imagination and the vision that they share, and all. It's fun. It's sort of a game for them at first, and it becomes something more, which I'm not going to do the spoiler thing and tell you, but it is important, that whole having a secret and having a dream and all that stuff lightens it, I think, a lot.
Yes, and you said, it's light, it's funny, and there were many times when I was reading it that I laughed out loud at some of the sayings. And I might even use them occasionally.
Yeah, I really do. I love humor. I think it's funny.
So Allison has commented that she loves all the layers in the story.
Good reader. It is layered. Yes,
many layers. And I noticed too, there's lots of reference to color. Can you talk about that aspect of the book?
Yes, that's another thing that is kind of there for people who like to treat a book like a code to crack, to find out what is all about it. It's deeper layers. You could have fun looking at how many times color comes into this. These paper stones that Rose makes have all the different colors, and people have their favorite colors, and it all starts to be kind of kaleidoscopic, I think, in the mind, all this color. And how it all just, without giving away too much, it is remember English class when they used to talk about hidden, deeper meanings and hidden layers and stuff? This book really does have that. And if you want a clue to start exploring that, you might just watch the colors go by and see how they make a rainbow.
Yes, for sure. So Sharon is asking, how did you collect those sayings?
Oh, that was a hoot. The whole family was in on that. I always remember, I've told this story before, but it's so great. My brother called me up one day and he said, I've got one for you. And he gave me the one about She's So Ugly. Do you remember that one if you've read it? She's so ugly, she'd make a train take a dirt road, which is such a scream. But people were, my friends and my family knew I was working on this project, and it was a joint effort to, you know, just be listening. And I used to eavesdrop in you know, diners and places, and I did actually sketch from life. I'd write down good ones that I heard actually said in this area. Plus, I know them. I grew up here.
Sketch from life. I love that saying. Sketch from life.
Well, I'd be, you know, I guess it's not that, you know, ethical, but I would be sitting there eavesdropping on people, writing down what they said.
I think we all do that now and again. Maybe we don't write it down, but I think we keep it.
Oh yeah, because I still remember there used to be an inn in Caladar. Do you remember that on the way to Bon Echo? And I was sat there and I collected a whole bunch of stuff for the restaurant that's in this book, the luck, what is it called? The Good Luck restaurant in this book. I remember one day I sat there with a notebook, and it was just a hoot to listen to the folks talking. They all knew each other in there, and that one guy says, I'm looking for a woman that can chop wood. And I got that right out of a real person's mouth.
So Sophia, who works at the Brighton Public Library, and her husband Ian is with her. She is asking, whoops, I just lost it here. What about the rural lifestyle? It seems to lend itself to colorful language laced with similes and metaphors. What is it about that lifestyle?
Yeah, do you think it's a lifestyle? I don't know. Why is the speech of the countryside often more vivid, right? Sophia and Ian, it's true. I don't know, do we educate it out of ourselves as we go to school too much or something? I'm not sure what that's about, but it does seem to be true, doesn't it? Is that true in Spanish too, Sophia? Yeah, local speech, just, I don't know, are people freer? They're not so self-conscious about how they speak maybe or something. I'm not sure what that is, but it's interesting, isn't it? You know, I'm not sure, and tell me if you ever find another one, but I don't think anybody's ever written a whole book in this particular vernacular before. I don't know that, but I haven't found one. That was actually really interesting to try and do. I didn't know if I could. You know, when you first start thinking about this, it's okay to say that this speech is funny and stuff, but I really thought, now, can I write a whole book? Can I reach all the notes? You know, can I hit the low notes, all that dark stuff? Can I hit the high notes? There's some really spiritual and airy-fairy stuff in this book. Can you say that in this voice? I didn't know if it would be flexible enough. I thought, well, sure, it's good for funny, but can you really actually write? There's some spiritual passages. There's some, you know, really emotional stuff. Is it just gonna be funny all the time, or could I say those other things too? I wasn't sure, but it turned out, I think, that you can. So that's maybe deepens my respect for this particular vernacular. It's not just goofy, it's very expressive.
Yes, for sure. So we've got a few interesting comments here. Jan is saying it's interesting how the atmosphere changes when the leader, in quotes, speaks, and that the warmth just seems to drain away.
Oh, what a good comment. Yeah, isn't that a good comment, Jan? Yeah, and then there again, the leader does not speak that vernacular, does she? She speaks a very hoity-toity, educated language.
Someone else, do you have a favorite passage in the book?
I don't know. I think I like most of it. You, Kim?
I'll talk about my favorite part. And I have it here. I have my own copy, and I've dog-eared it, which I only do when I own the book, never to library books. On page 234, You talk about going in circles and how it seems like you're going in circles, not getting anywhere. And then someone else, another character says, well, think about it like a spiral staircase. And as long as you're learning, you keep going up. So would you say that's your belief as well?
Yes.
I love that passage. I just love it. I read it over and over.
Thank you, Heather. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. The idea that you can feel as if you're going in circles, but if you're learning, yeah, okay, we're back around to that same problem again, but we're not looking at it from the same level, because if you're learning, you're growing, and you're able to look at the same thing from different perspectives, right? That's what learning is. It helps you look at things new ways. And that's so much a part of this book, right? That Rose is learning and learning, and that's what she hangs on to.
For sure.
Thank you for picking that one. That's a nice one for lots of reasons.
Well, thank you for writing it. So Doug is saying maybe educate it out and possibly make thoughts more visible.
What part? Say that again, please. I didn't quite.
Educate it out and possibly make thoughts more visible. And I believe he was referring to when you were talking about the vernacular and rural living, the rural lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's something to do with, I don't know, what does education do to us? It does a lot of good things, but maybe not all of what it does is that great. I don't know. I agree, Doug.
And Ed is asking, how does the fantasy of the hotel help their healing?
Well, I think it's about imagination. And I've talked with some of you about that a little bit, but I think if you can't imagine a better place than where you are, that's a problem for getting anywhere. You need to have some kind of a dream. I think daydreaming and imagining are not little are not silly. They're part of important. It's an important part of getting anywhere in the world, is to be able to imagine where you'd like to be. So that's part of it for the healing point of view. I think, to me, if you can't picture or even begin, I mean, they can't picture exactly what it's going to be like if they're better, but they have some kind of a hint in their minds. They're excited. The part that I read to you about, here's this little picture that this Josie, who's the seer, here's a little picture, and she's all excited about it. Well, why? Why is it exciting to have a little picture? Well, isn't that how it is? If you have a little picture of something that could be better, it's a beginning.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's why we set goals and all that. So
yeah.
So Allison is asking, or she says, I love how Rose learns a new way to deal with her man issue with help from Marg, demonstrating a technique that we can use. Yeah,
she gets her friend. She's just, I think it's not a spoiler to say that Rose has a man issue. She's always, before we meet her, she's had a number of unsuccessful romances, shall we say. Anyway, there's another guy, and she feels herself slipping, but by that point, right, Allison, she's learned that she can't do it alone, and her friend helps her. Yeah. And that's a big part of this whole thing, friendship, and how we can help each other in this world.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So can you talk a little bit about your process for writing this book? Did it come from, were you looking for an overarching theme? Was there a specific thing you wanted to cover? And what was your research like for something like this?
I can never tell when somebody says, where do these things start? It's almost as if somebody asked you, where do your dreams come from? I don't know, do you go to bed at night looking for a dream? It just comes, right? But then, but then research and stuff come into it later. I think the research was in two pieces. One was that I already told you all about getting that language figured out. And the other is the psychological piece. I really, really wanted it to get that right and to show, because I know I sort of earned the right to say that people can heal. And I wanted to get it. I thought, isn't that fascinating? I feel great now. How is that possible? Exactly how. I want to show step by step by step how people can actually shift their perspective just a little and get someplace. So I really worked on that in my own therapy, but then again, reading and studying and asking people who know and making sure, as far as I possibly could, that those steps make sense to people who don't really know about this stuff. So I think they do.
And I don't know if you can answer this or not, but how long did it take you to write it?
Yeah, I say something different every time somebody asks me that, because I really don't know. Long.
So it wasn't an overnight thing, or?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Years. A number of years.
Okay. And coming from a library perspective, so we catalog our books as fiction, mystery, science fiction. So this book in our collection is cataloged as a fiction. And if somebody wanted to know beyond just the fiction label, what sort of genre it is, could you answer that? What would you suggest that we tell a patron looking at this book?
It is literary fiction because of all those layers. And we've talked a little bit about how layered it is and how you could go and write an essay about it if you wanted to, because it's got all kinds of layers to it. I think that's how you tell that it's literary.
Thank you. And Marie is asking about the title. She loves the title, Paper Stones. It's such a great metaphor. Can you talk about the title?
Yeah, well, Rose, who's the person who was yakking away when I read it to you, the narrator, is given a little exercise in one of these therapy groups, and they talk about stepping stones, and they give her a piece of paper. Could you write down or show the stepping stones between where you are now and where you'd like to be? And of course she goes completely blank. What if I knew that, I wouldn't be sitting here. But then as she learns, she starts to go back to that in her mind and think about the stepping stones, and she makes one out of paper by herself at home, and she sees what her first step would be, and she writes on it, I can stand pain. She gets a red piece of construction paper and she writes, I can stand pain. And she puts it on her kitchen floor and stands on it. And she knows that for her is the first step. And then, she starts making them every time she gets a new way to look at something. Every time she shifts a little bit and she gets hold of a new thought, she writes her new thought, and she winds up with this whole line of these things across her kitchen floor. But that's what it is.
Thank you. And Jan is asking, how do you answer the question, whom did you write the book for? Great question.
That is an interesting question. I don't know. Everybody who could enjoy it or benefit from it, I guess, and of course for the fun of doing it. But I really do hope, I really do hope there'll be some people who find it helpful.
I think that's likely to happen for sure. So can you talk about what's next for you?
Yeah.
Any other
Well,
projects on the go?
oh, always. I've got a couple. I have a new play. I'm a playwright as well. And I guess maybe some of you know that I had a career in vision loss rehabilitation. I worked with people that were blind, and I have a new novel about that perking away. So look for it in 20 years or whatever.
20 years, everyone mark their calendars.
Well, let's hope it gets out a little sooner than that. I don't know. It takes me forever.
All right. Are there any other questions? We can open it up to the attendees if they would like to unmute and actually chat with Laurie. We're totally open to that. Anyone? Or you can continue to put comments and questions into the chat room.
It's so nice of you people to be here tonight. I want to say thank you. I appreciate it so much. You just don't know how much it means to see you and see your names and have you here.
It is nice to connect with everyone. Even if we can't do it in person, at least we can do it halfway virtually.
It means so much. That was something else I meant to say about this book too. There's all the friendship in it. I think it's a nice time. Just a fluke, of course, that it was published this year, but boy, the community and friendship and the warmth of being working on things together is pretty timely, I think.
Yes, for sure. It's very supportive. They're very supportive of each other. I liked that about it.